Great afternoon. You know what today is. Today is Tuesday, and this is Lunchtime Empowerment Talks with Dr. Vaughn. I am Dr. Shavonna Whitehead. I am super excited, as always, to join you every Tuesday right here at 1 p.m. for a little empowerment, little push, a little encouragement to get you through the week, to help you through this season. And if you saw our flyer, you already know our topic for today is your waiting is not wasted. Your waiting is not wasted. I want to read a quote from you from Pete Wilson that says, spiritual transformation happens in the waiting room. Spiritual transformation happens in the waiting room. God oftentimes causes waiting as an incubator or as a tool to actually produce some things in us. Because many of us, if we didn't go through the season of waiting, we wouldn't have actually developed some of the skills, some of the tools, some of the strengths that we have developed. We wouldn't have birthed some things if we did not go through the waiting season. I understand waiting does not feel good. Waiting is not always a fun season. Matter of fact, waiting is sometimes painful. Waiting is sometimes agony. It's not always a good season for waiting. But what we understand when we are the children of God and we are God's creation, we understand that waiting is all a part of our process. Your waiting time is not wasted. Your waiting time is not null and void. Your waiting time is not useless. There is something great happening in the waiting room. Listen, faithful waiting on God makes you stronger, not weaker. Just because you're in a waiting season, just because you're in a holding season, does not mean you've done anything wrong, does not mean that you're not strong enough, does not mean that God is mad at you. Sometimes we just have certain seasons of our life that requires us to wait. It requires us not to move fast. It requires us to sit still. It requires us to wait and trust God, even when it seems like nothing is happening. Listen, transformation doesn't always happen when we want it to, nor when we feel like the time is right. Even though we don't like it, it happens during our seasons of waitings where we are transformed. It is through our waiting, our hoping, and our trusting that God begins to develop us. Think about it. Reflect over your life and realize that some of those seasons of waiting that you were waiting on God, God began to reveal himself to you in a way that you never imagined. Sometimes we go through the hustle and bustle of life and we're just moving. We're just moving. We're just doing. We're just going about. And sometimes we just need to sit and wait. There are some things that have to be developed in us. And if we don't go through our waiting season, we will never experience the fullness of that which God has for us. And I don't know about you. I want the fullness of what God has for me. So you have to realize and embrace this waiting season. It's not a wasted time. It's not, oh, well, let me just go through the motions. No, this waiting season is intentional. The waiting time that God sends you through is intentional, and it's vital to where you are going. Our schedule is not God's schedule. His timing is not our timings. Oftentimes, we lay out a full schedule of what we want, when we want it, how we want it, who we want to be included, and we never take the time to consult God or the will that he has for our lives. I know I'm not the only one. If you sit back and think, there's sometimes that you have actually created a timetable for God and never consulted God to ask him what was his will or what was his timing for the season of your life. You just wanted what you wanted. You were determined to get it, and that was it. But we have to sit back and ask God, what is this season supposed to reveal to me? What is it that I'm supposed to get in this waiting season? What am I supposed to do in this waiting season? What am I supposed to develop in this waiting season? We find ourselves praying and pleading with God over and over and over again because we want him to move faster than he's moving. It is not time for you to get anxious or to get frustrated or move out of your season. I'll say it again. It is not the time for you to get anxious, for you to get frustrated, or for you to move out of your season. It is time for you to trust God like never before. It is time for you to seek God like never before. It is time for you to get into the presence of God like never before. Let me help you. Don't allow your anxiousness to cause you step out of timing, because here's the thing. When you step out of timing, oftentimes we have to go all the way back to the beginning and start the process all over again, because you can't just jump back in the middle. You can't just jump back in, because it's a process, which means one thing builds on another thing. That thing builds on another thing. That thing builds on another thing. So if you step out somewhere around here, you have to go back to here so that you can build back up again to get where it is that God has for you to be. God's will will not always be immediately apparent. Some things you may not see immediately, but you got to trust what God says. Listen, big dreams take time. Big manifestations of promise take time. We live in a generation where everybody wants things quick, fast, and in a hurry. But you learn to appreciate something even more when you got to wait for it. Remember, this process to getting that which God has for you requires you to actively seek God, seek contentment, even amid less optimal circumstances. Question: can you follow and heed to the guidance of God even when the circumstances look bleak? That's a question you have to ask God. Are you only willing to follow God when you can see where you're going, you know when you're going to get there, you know the timing, or can you actually trust God and heed to his will even when the circumstances look bleak, even when it seems like the time is dragging along? Can you still trust God? When you are, take it for instance, think about it. When you're in the doctor's office, they send you to the waiting room. After you check in, you're in the waiting room. You're sitting waiting for your appointment. You have a 2:00 appointment. You arrive at 1:45. You're all checked in and you're waiting. Somebody comes in about 1:55. They get checked in and they get called right to the back. Immediately, you not knowing what time that person's appointment time was or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you get frustrated or irritated. You may go back up to the desk. But nevertheless, if you're there to see the doctor, you sit back in the waiting room and you wait your turn. Though it may seem like somebody's going before you, what you don't know is that God had already appointed their time before yours. You don't know the timing of God, so it doesn't look like they were getting ahead of you. It's just their timing for manifestation was before you, which means their appointment time was just before yours. But here's the thing, because you really need to see the doctor, you sit in the waiting room and you wait. Because you really need to see the doctor, you sit in the waiting room and you wait. You find your magazine, you look on your phone, you make a phone call, you do something to keep you occupied while you're waiting. But nevertheless, you wait. Well, why is it that we always want to rush God and think he should move in our timing instead of just waiting? We need to see God. We need to make our appointment with God. We need to see God. We need to know what it is God has for us. So the thing is that sometimes you just got to sit in the waiting room until he calls your name, until he says now is the time, until he says manifestation is here, until he says now is the season. You have to sit and wait. Grab a magazine, which is your Bible. Pick it up. Learn some new skills. Learn some new things. Learn where it is. Here's the thing. How about you study where it is you're trying to go? Wherever you are praying and seeking God to take you, why not take the time during your waiting season to study where it is you're trying to go? Research where it is you're trying to go. Seek God for the tools for where you're trying to go. Because here's the thing. If God really actually gave some of us what we wanted when we prayed for it, we will mess it up because we're not equipped, nor are we ready to handle what we're praying for. Let's be honest. If we evaluate some of the things that we're praying for, we really actually need God to cause us to wait. Because if we get it right now, we're going to mess it up. But while I'm waiting, I am preparing myself for where I want to go. While I'm waiting, I'm studying. where I'm trying to go. While I'm waiting, I am researching what I'm praying for God to manifest. While I'm waiting, I'm learning more about me so I can be ready when he actually manifests. Because here's the thing, you have to make yourself ready for the time. You don't get ready once he comes. You don't get ready. Think about it. If you're going on a date or you got an interview or whatever, you don't get ready once you arrive to the interview. You don't get ready once you arrive to the date. You have to prepare and get ready before it actually comes. So therefore, during this season of waiting, what are you doing to prepare yourself for what you are asking God for? Ask yourself that question. What am I doing to prepare myself for what I'm asking God for? Find you a declaration to speak to yourself every time the enemy tries to make you think God has forgotten about you or that the promise will not come. During this season of waiting, you got to make some declarations and keep your atmosphere clean. So how about you start declaring to yourself wherever it is you're going? How about you start making some declarations, put it on sticky notes, put it on an index card or whatever you got to do. And whenever the enemy tries to make you think that God has forgotten about the promise, whenever the enemy tries to make you think that God is not moving, you need to make some declarations. I got one that I love. I'm going to share with you. I'm always sharing with you my goodies that I use for myself. Micah 7:7 is one of the ones that I declare in my own atmosphere. And it's Micah 7:7. It says, but as for me, I watch in hope for the Lord. I wait for God, my Savior, for my God will hear me. It says, I watch in hope of the Lord. I wait for my God, my Savior, because my God will hear me. What is that symbol? I am declaring in the atmosphere that I am not only just sitting here haphazardly, but I am watching and waiting for God in a spirit of hope and expectancy for God to manifest that which I am praying for. I'm not just sitting here because why? Micah said it, because I believe the Lord hears me. I believe the Lord hears me. So therefore, I am waiting in hope and expectation that God will manifest. And see, you have to learn how to pursue God even when it seems like it's not working. You got to declare it even when it seems like it's not working. You got to keep pushing even when it seems like it doesn't matter, because it's not about what it seems. We got to get out of this feeling. We got to get out of this, and we got to go based off of what we know, because our feelings are going to get us in trouble. You have to realize our feelings are going to get us in trouble. So listen, I want to give you some tools. I always give you some tools, and I just have a couple of them to leave with you. And so that you don't get anxious, you don't get frustrated, and so that you can begin to change your attitude and how you envision your waiting. Because here's the thing, your attitude and how you envision your waiting matter. The process of waiting is as important as what you're waiting for. I'll say it again. Somebody needs to type it below. The process of waiting is as important as what you're actually waiting for. I'll say it again. The process of waiting is as important as the thing that you're actually waiting for. So you have to change your attitude. You have to change your perception. Don't get frustrated. Don't get anxious, but see that this is just a necessary part of the journey and that God is up to something. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to trust God. When we say that we trust God, it must be unconditional. When we say that we trust God, it must be unconditional. We have to trust God even when it's uncomfortable. We have to trust God even when it's uncomfortable. Waiting for God starts in your mind. When you find peace and contentment with a humble heart, it's easier to trust the process God has you in. I'll say it again. Waiting for God starts in your mind. When you find peace and contentment with a humble heart, it's easier to trust the process God has you in. You got to trust God during this season like never before. The only way that you're going to get everything that you are supposed to get out of this season of waiting is you got to trust God and be content in whatever state you may find yourself in. The second thing is you got to increase your faith. Once you get your mind together, you got to increase your faith. Pursue God even when it seems like you want to get angry and you want to get bitter. Shift it and begin to pursue God. Worship and fellowship with God, getting to the presence of God. Work on the attributes that will increase your faith. We grow through waiting. It's an opportunity for us to get closer to God and to increase our faith. Our waiting period is an opportunity for us to get closer to God and to increase our faith. Number 3, be watchful. Tell somebody, open your eyes. Tell them, open your eyes. But listen, watch with your spiritual lens, not your natural one, because this natural lens will get you in trouble. This natural lens will make you think that ain't nothing happening. This natural lens will cause you to step away and get out of line. But you have to watch with your spiritual lens and not your natural one. Many times God will reveal himself and answer prayers in ways that we don't always imagine. Again, I'll say it again. Many times God will reveal himself and answer prayers in ways that we don't always imagine. But we got to trust that God sees the entire picture, even when we can only see a part. Learn while waiting. Trust me, there is a revelation that comes while waiting. Tell somebody, be watchful, open your eyes. You got to open your eyes and see what God is doing. And you got to get excited about what God is doing. The 4th thing, prepare for what you are waiting for. I talked about it earlier. Prepare for what you are waiting for. When God prepares you for something, it takes time to materialize. I'll say it again. When God is preparing you for something, it takes time to materialize. You may think you know exactly what to do. However, when it comes to the realization that there are some things you still need to learn, you need to change, and you need to develop, you will begin to appreciate the waiting time. While you're waiting, take time to prepare. Take time to study. Take time to develop. You have to realize that your waiting season is imperative to the manifestation of all that God has for you. Don't come out too soon. Don't move too fast. Become better while you wait. Become stronger while you wait. Become more powerful while you wait. Let God develop you while you wait. Listen, a caterpillar goes into a waiting period, into a dark cocoon, in order to develop into this beautiful butterfly. A seed goes into a dark, dirty ground in order for it to actually sprout up into the vegetables, the flowers, and the fruits that we enjoy. But they all had to be tucked away and go through a waiting period. They didn't just be planted and spring up. The caterpillar didn't just go in the cocoon and come out the next day a butterfly. There is a waiting period. We want the glamour. We want the manifestation of promise. We want the victorious testimony. But there is a season of waiting that we must all go through. Change your narrative today, people. Change your narrative. Rejoice over your waiting rather than becoming anxious and frustrated. Come on, shift the narrative today. Get excited. I mean, get excited. Begin to praise and actually be joyous about your waiting season. You don't have to be frustrated. You don't have to be anxious, because if your perception is shifted, you'll realize that God is up to something even while you are waiting. Don't move too soon. Don't get off the track. I just wanted to come and encourage somebody today who's frustrated. You're tired of waiting. You were about to just throw up your hands and say, you know what? I'm done with it. I'm going to try something new. Don't move. Don't move, because you're going to forfeit everything that God has in store for you. I don't know about you, but I want everything that God has for me. So I refuse to move out of season. I refuse to move out of turn. I refuse to move with the status quo. I am on my own journey. I am facing my own timing, and so are you. Be true to the timing that God has for you. Don't get frustrated. Your waiting isn't wasted. Every season of your life, God has used for a specific purpose. I celebrate what God is doing in you during your season of waiting, and I hope that you celebrate it too. Thank you so much for sharing with me today for Lunchtime Empowerment Talks with Dr. Vaughn. Again, I am Dr. Shavonna Whitehead, and it's always my privilege and my pleasure to be able to share with you. Be sure to head over to our YouTube channel, Dr. Shavonna Whitehead. Click that subscribe button, and all of these empowerment talks are always uploaded there for you to like and share with your family and friends. Please have them like and share as well. Also, like and share this video, as well as head over to our website, www.shavonnawhitehead.com. Again, it's www.shavonnawhitehead.com, where you can subscribe and always stay in the know with us as God begins to have us in our waiting season, as he develops us and he births more things out of us during this 2020 season. So I pray that you have an amazing remainder of the day, and most of all, an amazing remainder of the week. I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 1 p.m. for Lunchtime Empowerment Talks with Dr. Vaughn. Again, have an amazing day on purpose, and always know your waiting is not wasted.